Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Sam Craggs and I work in the UK agency team.
Hi everyone, my name's Kira and I am a shopping specialist.
So welcome to the Elevenses series. So as you'll be aware already, Black Friday and Christmas are soon to be upon us, and we need to get retail ready ahead of these key retail periods. And to help you with that, we're doing the 5 steps to retail readiness. So the series will run over 5 consecutive Wednesdays. They'll all be presented by some of our very own GMS GKI experts, and each will take you through a step-by-step guide for maximising campaign performance. Each live episode will be a concise, around 10 to 15 minutes, full of relevant insights and a very actionable Black Friday checklist. So the topics we'll cover are shopping today, that's us, then after mobile, search audiences, display audiences, and automation. So, as I said before, we're taking the first one, the very, very important shopping feeds and merchant center. We're going to try to provide some top tips, which hopefully you can take away. So, why shopping? Something you might not be aware of. For the first time ever, we've actually had a bit of a landmark for Google Shopping. I think this Christmas, we're actually expecting shopping clicks to overtake text clicks. So, how are we actually going to make the most of this increase? So we're going to split this presentation into 4 sections. Number 1, avoiding account suspensions. Number 2, ensuring that all products are live. 3, optimizing the product content. And finally, commercial planning. So the key thing here is to prioritize. So firstly, I'm going to hand over to Kira.
Great, so I'm going to take a good look at account health today, guys, and kind of the most important things. So avoiding account suspensions and getting all of your inventory online. So the really key thing here is that you could have the best shopping campaign in the world. It could be optimized amazingly, but if the health of the merchant center isn't up to scratch, then you're really not going to be seeing any kind of returns. So the first thing we can look at is that feeds and shopping campaigns are interrelated, which I've just said, and it's so, so important. What we can forget about is that if we start running a merchant promotion and we're all set for Black Friday, we forget that in the merchant center, if it goes offline that day, all of that work has just been completely nulled. So it's really, really important to concentrate on both of them. They are interrelated. You should be spending 50% of your time on the campaigns, 50% of your time looking at the feed health. So the first thing that I would say is that the Merchant Center Diagnostics tab is really going to be your eye in the sky for shopping health and projected shopping success. So use that dashboard to establish if there's any outstanding threats to account health that might result in a revenue impact. So prioritize from your account level to feeds, then to item level, looking of course at red triangles. Those are the really important errors, and then all the way down to notifications. What we can kind of see with item level disapprovals that they're an easy thing to overlook, but do keep in mind that all these little red triangle disapprovals, they're reminding you that these products aren't running, they're not bringing in any revenue. What I've put on this slide are just some of our top item level disapprovals. Some are kind of self-explanatory, like missing required attribute. Give us all the attributes so we can run the PLA. But I'll explain a couple of the others on the next slide. So the first one that I've popped in here is GTIN, right? So one of the most common questions we get for item level disapprovals is, what can we do about this GTIN issue? And honestly, the answer doesn't lie with us. The GTINs are in the supply chain of the merchant. Sometimes what can happen is that the GTIN provided by a supplier is still incorrect. What I would recommend in that case is checking the validity of a GTIN on the gs1.org site. So that's an external database to Google, and that has every GTIN globally on it. So you can check the validity of GTINs there. Some quick fixes are, don't use restricted or coupon code GTINs. They all start with the numbers I've listed here. The other thing is sometimes GTINs can get kind of severed if they're going through a really complex supply chain, for example. So what can happen is zeros get added to the beginning or they get taken away. So what I would say is if you get an issue where your GTIN has been flagged for being too short, try adding 1 0 to it. If that doesn't work, then try adding 2. The next one I've flagged here is that images can't be crawled. So this is typically caused by 404 on the URL or else by a robots.txt issue. So do just ensure that you're allowing us to access the page. What can happen is that through the website structure, we allow robots TXT across the whole site, but we forget about the images, especially if they're hosted elsewhere. The final one is automatic policy violations. This can crop up as well. Typically, it's triggered by a sensitive keyword. So what I would do is review those items quite intensively. Look at the product data, but also look at the landing page. If there's any sensitive keywords, try and remove those. For any pharma verticals, I would recommend checking out a partner of ours, which is legitscript.com. And you can check out if any of the ingredients on a pharma product have been flagged. Once you've resolved the issue on the landing page or the product data, then you can pop on and you can get the item manually reviewed by us. If for some reason that notification isn't there, then what you can do is change the item ID and resubmit to us. Great. So the next thing we're going to look at is price and availability. So price and availability issues are avoidable with some simple steps that you can take ahead of peak. Make sure that your feed isn't just being sent once a day because it becomes susceptible to old data. If you don't have automatic item updates turned on, you're not using them as a safety net for information for us. And don't remove your out of stock items from the feed because you're going to lose all your performance history. When they come back into stock, they'll be starting from scratch. This is a bit of a checklist for your client. So the kind of things you should be speaking to them about. Ask them, how many times are we currently sending the feed a day? Can we send it multiple times a day? Consider applying automatic item updates on the page. What you can check using our structured data testing tool is if they already have some schema.org set up on the page, then it's just a case of switching the button on in Merchant Center. And of course, leave out of stock items in the feed. The more products we have live, the more clicks and impressions. So it makes sense to get price and availability correct. Next, we're just going to fly through some quick optimization tips for your product data. It's really important that what you're sending us is relevant and can be indexed efficiently. The first thing we've seen, and this has been a really big trend for 2017, especially through the apparel vertical, is that submitting really high resolution images can impact the quality of your listing. What we're seeing is that any images coming through over 800 by 800 typically lead to more clicks and more impressions, and a knock-on effect that they would probably lead to more conversions. The minimum is 100 by 100 and 250 by 250 for apparel, but really if you have the images there, do try and submit them in the higher res. Next thing is product titles, and time again we see these impacting performance. What I would say is that word order here is absolutely critical. It's so important to front load with your most important information. If you're promoting a really big brand, that needs to be really far up in the title. What actually is, that's so important, and any key attributes. So if it's made of a specific material or has a USP, make sure that's in the title. Titles can have up to 150 characters and we index all of those characters, but they're usually truncated to 70. So that's why it's important to front load. Product titles per vertical. So this is a really handy slide. And what I would say is if you have a client that doesn't fall under one of these kind of set traditional verticals, what I would do is use the standard product title structure, whereby you would put brand, product, and attributes. So that would be really, really important. Brand, product, attributes. This one then, product type, is really great because it means it gives us extra information whereby we can index the products more effectively. Also, it gives you a more detailed hierarchy that you can use to segment your shopping campaigns. It's really great when you're doing any kind of promotional activity as well. What I would say is make sure you build it out in a string. So starting from the most generic category all the way down to maybe brand or maybe a specific material, totally up to you. Then product descriptions. So the sweet spot for product descriptions is between 800 and 1,000 characters. So that tends to have the best range of impressions. Additionally, don't use any kind of specialized characters. Please don't use emojis. They've actually come through a lot. They don't add any value. They don't help us index anything. So I really wouldn't use them. Do mirror the information on your site. That's important. So in the description, we should bounce as a crawler onto the site and be seeing the exact same information as is in the description on the PLA. Reiterate those key terms that you've given us in the product category. That's a really important one that can get overlooked. But don't forget that in your description, if you're selling a woman's boot, you do want to ensure that you have that in the description as well so that you can boost the quality all around.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kira. So we're going to look at the commercial planning side of things now. And the first thing we're actually going to run through are more than ever, people are expecting discounts. It's completely expected during Black Friday on the run up to Christmas. So to kind of combat that, most retailers are offering discounts. So if you're offering discounts on your website, let's try to get them shown on Google Shopping as well. So one thing that actually does happen, one thing that we actually do offer, are merchant promotions. So what are they? They are the kind of little discount boxes, so you can use code to get 10% off here, free delivery, all that kind of stuff. These have actually been around for a while now, but in my opinion, they're very, very underused. A lot of people still aren't really aware of them and not really sure how to actually avail of them. So I think the key thing here is that you can increase click-through rate, you can increase conversions, and at the end of the day, it's no extra cost. If you're offering the discount on site, you might as well convey it externally as well. So how do we actually get on these? So really simple, just Google merchant promotion form. A manual team do this. So I would really implore you to do this now. I know for a fact the team are very, very busy on the run up to Black Friday. So if you have a shopping client, it's an absolutely no-brainer to apply for this today. Cool. So say you've got the whitelist, what do we do now? So there's actually two ways to ensure that promotions show on Google Shopping. One is to create a promotional ID in the feed. So this will include like a date and it's a special format which will say this will be 10% off and it'll end during this period. That obviously requires a little bit of developer implementation. So that can be a little bit of a nightmare, especially if you don't really have a great relationship with the developer or rarely speak to them. So we do actually also have another method to do it. So in the Merchant Center itself, there is something called the promotions tool. It's dead easy. It's just on the left-hand side, you go on promotions, add it in, and you can apply a promotion across absolutely everything instantly. Again, it's manually done, so ensure you do it ahead of time and check whether it's been approved or not. Cool. The other thing to kind of avail of this Christmas is feed rules. So I think in the past, I used to work agency on client side. We always used to have a huge problem of actually making changes to the feed quickly. So to combat that, Google's actually realized that this is an issue, and we've kind of come up with this thing called feed rules. So instead of using the developer, it means that we can actually just go in and add a quick little fix. So say if I just wanted to, say if there was an error on a product page and it said we had some red shoes, and in the feed it actually said green shoes, we can literally just go into feed rules and go on one ID and change the title to red shoes instead of green shoes. Absolutely dead easy, super quick. So the do's and don'ts of feed rules, they're really very useful for quick fixes here and there. So when we see like a little error on one page or one little description we want to edit, they're fantastic for that. However, do not use feed rules to edit your entire feed. Do not try to rely on these to build your shopping categorization for campaigns. Cool. So the next thing, which has come out quite recently actually, is something called supplemental feeds. So say if you keep applying the same feed rule on an individual basis and it's taking up a lot of time, what you can actually use is to use something called supplemental feeds. So supplemental feeds is an extra feed which you can upload into the Merchant Center, and all it needs is ID and one of the field. So again, like I said before, say if you had you sold 100 red shoes and the color wasn't coming through any of them on the feed, all you'd have to do is submit another feed with all the shoe IDs and then the color is red. Dead easy, and it means you don't have to keep updating it every single time. Cool. So next thing we just want to run through quickly is campaign structure. So I think in the past, we've kind of gone full circle here. I think when we first moved to shopping campaigns, everyone just started with one campaign, cover all, one bid, everything had the same exposure. Obviously, we've kind of realized that isn't the best case. From then on, we've moved to more of a category approach of looking at category at campaign level and ad group at subcategory level. However, now I think it's time for us to get a little bit more advanced. So there's quite a few different things we can do here. So one of the key things I'd really recommend is using your priority levels. So as I said before, the tail, the core, the low priority, this is where all your products will sit in these campaigns. Medium, these will be like your top performers and like your best selling products anyway. However, the key thing to realize in the next few weeks is to really start having a look at the head products and the ones that you'll be pushing during peak. Create a separate campaign for this with a high priority, and this will allow you to go with higher bids, more exposure, and put more volume through these promotional items. Cool. So as I said before, like you can bid to sale, but it's not just sale. You can also look at things like with understock, overstock, just general bestsellers. It's really important to make sure you're pushing the right areas. So if you want to bid to these sections, as Kira said before, you can use product types to structure your shopping campaigns. However, the other thing you can do is use custom labels. So say if I have a offer on all my red shoes at the moment, they are 10% off every single one. What we can do is apply a custom label in the feed to all those red shoes, and we can actually create a separate campaign targeting this red shoe custom labels. From then on in, we can apply a bigger bid to that. We can apply a bigger budget and ensure that we're making the most out of that period. Cool. And one thing that's really easy to forget is RSA shopping. RSA on shopping. I think right now everyone is pretty good at applying remarketing list to search, but for shopping, it's something that just seems to slip through for some reason. So I think when it comes to retail, we need to ensure that we always have force. This is the absolute basics. Applied at every single campaign. An all users list, an added to basket list, and like an email lead gen list, and finally a converter list. I said these are absolutely fundamental to get in ahead of Black Friday, because we will often see like higher conversion rates, lower CPAs for all of these lists. So once we get these in and we've built the data up ahead of this period, means we can bid appropriately during peak. However, one thing I would say to get a little bit more advanced, obviously the technology has improved recently. Make sure you're trying to upload your customer match emails, even your customer match emails from last year, people that subscribed or bought on that day. And secondly, remarketing lists, they last a lot longer now, so you can get ones that run over a year. So you could actually even start building a list this year of people that shopped on Black Friday and remarket again next year. Finally, ensure that they have enough data and that they're truly intent focused. So quite regularly, we see people create lists that have very little data. It's one, people that have been to site in the last hour and the last day. Make sure that you're giving it enough chance to build up data so you can make the right decision. Cool. So key takeaways for today. So provide up-to-date and correct and current data. Fix your errors now to ensure optimal seasonal performance. Sign up to the merchant promotions whitelist and implement ASAP. And finally, make sure you are bidding correctly to your promotions via custom labels. Cool. So the second installment of our Black Friday series will be led by two of our mobile experts. These will cover absolutely everything you need to be mobile ready for Black Friday and Christmas. Expect to leave this 15-minute session with everything from a quick M-site speed fix, the device trends to watch out for, and how to fully optimize ads for mobile searches, and much, much more. This Black Friday will be mobile dominated, so make sure you don't miss this episode. Thanks everyone for joining today. We really appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. See you later, guys.
Bye.